not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
A lot of Laker cope around the internet here the last couple days.
It's just one game. Phil.
It is. It's only one game.
The
Wolves
Lakers are going to come back.
There's no way the Wolves can repeat that performance. 51% from three. There's no way. No, I would argue there's no way the Lakers can reenact not fouling anyone apparently until the 4-minute mark of the second quarter. But who am I? So,
has there ever been a team that you guys can recall in this town that was less understood than the Wolves going into these playoffs?
Like nationally?
Yeah,
or even locally, quite frankly.
But a total lack of understanding of what they bring.
See, I nationally, yes, because most of these analysts, when covering a league of 30 teams, don't pay close attention to the Timberwolves, which I would argue that you should, because they are one of the 3 best teams in the NBA since the second week of January. Net rating, I think they're like 4th or 5th in wins since that period. But I think locally, I feel like at this point, watching this team for 82 games plus a playoff game, we know exactly what they are. When they're playing at their best, they are literally a championship caliber team, but they don't always play their best.
Sure.
So they bring a 27-point lead into the deep part of the third quarter, and we're on our group text thread like, God, it's not over yet.
Right. But what I don't get is this, and this is the one thing I think the biggest oversight of this entire series has been since the matchup was set. Okay, the Timberwolves, no matter what they do, are deeper. They're just deeper. Like they've just got more.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Luka and LeBron cannot win games. They can. But in reality, once you get past Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves, okay, there is nobody else on that team who scares you.
Yeah, and there's
it's just
players,
a fact.
There's good players. There's a small handful of players. Rui Hachimura is a good basketball player.
Sure.
Jared Vanderbilt is a scrappy energy player who helped bring the Wolves back to the playoffs, 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, are any of those guys going to rise up and hit 6? Well, Hachimura could hit 6 threes in a game and do the Naz Reid thing because he's a good shooter. But the Wolves have more lineup combos, more energy, just more 6th man of the year candidate type players off their bench, etc. And I've wrapped some of these themes into a pie chart of praise for you guys.
Love pie.
Off of game 1. And these are going to also, all of these could probably generate their own talkers. So I'd love to give you the pie chart of praise off of a dominant game 1 win here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Presented in part by Wolves Realtor, our friend Heather, one of the biggest Wolves fans in town, quite frankly.
That's right. There's a lot of buzz, right? And there's a lot of national headlines going like, how do the Wolves do this? How could the Lakers even let this happen? There's all this random kind of unnecessary noise. And sometimes when you're entering that housing market, you're just confused at what you're reading, right? The interest rates are fluctuating. The economy's all over the place. It can be very overwhelming. But luckily, Heather, WolvesRealtor.com, who's a diehard Wolves fan, season ticket holder, she also has your back for all those real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy that first house, sell your home, let Heather take care of that for you. Go to WolvesRealtor.com, because when it comes to real estate, just like basketball, having the right coach makes all the difference. WolvesRealtor.com to find out more.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, gentlemen. Get your calculators out here, because I have 7 slices of pie
Judd,
in the pie chart of praise.
You trust us here? Okay. Between both of us, do you think we can follow along?
No, I trust Phil more. I trust Phil not to have screwed up the math.
Landed the math plane.
Like
here,
if it's you or me, then I don't know. Then I don't trust it.
I am going to try to relay this accurately without having to use Phil to AJ for the pie chart for a graphic. So I'm going to try my absolute best to make sure I'm going to do this appropriately.
You do your best. No one's
okay, thank you.
All right, you might push back at the first small little sliver here. Julius Randle gets 3%. And I know he turned the ball over 7 times. If you look at the 16 career playoff games he has played, it's been mostly an underwhelming batch of playoff games. He has underperformed his regular season baseline. And I think you would probably overall put his game one performance in the underachieving bin again. But he guarded LeBron James for about 51% of LeBron's minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron was 2 for 7 for 4 points when guarded by Julius Randle in that game.
There you go. Yeah.
Just a big, strong body, athletic, that makes it difficult. And you can throw him at Luka once in a while too, on screen and rolls with switches. So I'm going to give Julius Randle 3% for just being a big defensive force against one of the great players in the history of the NBA. Age 40 now. And he's definitely showing his age in some ways. But LeBron was 2 for 7 for 4 points, according to NBA.com, when guarded by Julius Randle. And Julius hit a bunch of threes, too.
Yes.
Key moments.
So if Julius doesn't have the 7 turnovers, what's that pie? What's that slice of pie at? Because I actually did think that there were areas he was really good.
Yeah, it's definitely higher. And I feel like a few of those turnovers were him trying to force things in the paint or force a pass somewhere.
But he did a lot of good things.
Yeah. The defensive stuff is going to be really important because if Luka goes off, that's fine. But if you can neutralize LeBron and Austin Reeves, series over. 0 chance for the Lakers. So, okay, 5% to Dante DiVincenzo. And I think this is mostly just for his swag alone. Hitting that 3 at the end of the first half, turning right to the camera on cue and doing his little 3-point celebration. He knew the ball was going in. He knew where the camera was.
He looked right into it. Yeah, he did.
This is also a dude who was dropping 30 points in Knicks playoff games a year ago. He only hit the 1-3, so he wasn't incredible offensively. But his versatility, some of the rebounds he grabs, it's like, the Lakers are going on a run here, and the Wolves really just need to put a stop to this. You can't allow an offensive rebound, and it's like DiVincenzo out of nowhere will just grab a rebound on the low block and start the possession going back the other way. So, certainly not his best playoff game ever or his best game as a Timberwolf box score wise, but he just shows up with his energy, his key rebounds once in a while, his versatility as a defender. He's a scrappy player that you love to have on your team.
And still 5 boards, 4 assists, couple steals. Like, the energy he brings is palpable. And the bench was obviously pretty big in that game for the Wolves. But I think when you watch him, even though he only has 9 points and only one of those 3-pointers fall, you can come away from that game and see, oh, wow, even though he only dropped the 9, you can see the impact that he obviously made.
As we talked about on the post-game flagrant, Phil, I really feel like, especially in basketball, I guess, when you get to the playoffs, fixating on the box score is probably a mistake. Like there was, how many things did we see on Saturday that weren't necessarily like, if you just looked at the points or the stats, weren't reflected? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I thought Dante's minutes and what he provided were almost like an injection of drugs, because they just bang, like he just came in, and so like, yes.
Oh man, we just need a
Dante fix.
You got any of that DDV?
I need a Dante fix. But I mean, he did come in and do a fantastic job, and in this case, it wasn't reflected by the points or the stats. But like, if you watch that game, you came away saying he made a difference. Yes,
and the fact that if a Conley lineup isn't working the way that you wanted, like early in the, and I'll get to Conley in a second here, but early in the game, you're down by 8 points or whatever it was, and all right, let's throw in some of these subs, and instantly it's DiVincenzo comes in, and Nikhil and Naz Reid, and it's ball movement, it's versatility, it's pace, it's energy, it's offense, it's spreading the floor and all those things. So
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
12% to the old reliable combo of Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert, mostly for not getting played off the court. Like everyone thought he's just going to get put in the spin cycle. He can't guard on the perimeter. And Mike Conley, there's some real concern about Mike Conley defensive matchups, because the Lakers, even if they play a little smaller, there's just not many great places to put Mike Conley defensively. But you know what? Brilliantly, Chris Finch started the game with Mike Conley on the 6'8" Rui Hachimura, because, well, he's going to stand in the corner for spacing. So Conley can kind of just shadow him out there. And then there was a couple times where the Lakers said, oh my gosh, Conley's on Hachimura. Let's try to back him down in the low block. Well, if you're the Wolves, we said this on the postgame show, I would welcome the Lakers trying to run their offense through Rui Hachimura instead of Luka Doncic or LeBron James or Austin Reeves. So it almost created like a reverse psychological effect on a couple possessions. But the Wolves were a plus 13 in Mike Conley's minutes and a plus 14 in Rudy Gobert's minutes. So 12% for those guys not getting played off the court like everybody thought they would be.
On Gobert, though, I think Finch played Gobert an ideal amount. And you've talked about this for, 2 months now. But it felt like Gobert's usage was like exactly what you've been calling for, too. So, like, you didn't allow him to get played off the court because you sort of dictated the terms of his playing.
Yeah.
From
In
the Wolves' perspective.
the foul trouble, he did pick up the 3 fouls pretty early before he would normally come out. So I think he played 24 minutes. Probably would have played 30, but it wasn't necessarily going to be a 36-minute Rudy night because, you're going to play some smaller lineups to counter some things. So 12% to Conley and Rudy Gobert. 15% to Naz Reid for showing up in 2 places at once on Saturday night. Game 1 inside Crypto Arena and hitting 6 3-pointers, 23 points, and for his towel being showcased all over WrestleMania in Las Vegas.
Who was
Night 1
that?
of WrestleMania.
Who was that?
This happened last year, too, at WrestleMania. It's happened at, I think the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
There's,
that's awesome.
Minnesota fans who show up, and you can bring signs. They bring their Naz Reid towel. It's very prominently featured night 1 of WrestleMania. But, yeah, he was lights out from 3. He's the type of dude that if he gets hot like that, it's this extra layer of offense, and it's this barrage that, there was that one in the corner. He was fading out of bounds and just cashes this 3. These heartbreaking, demoralizing shots that him and Dante DiVincenzo can hit. Just daggers. And my favorite thing about Naz Reid after the game was he was asked, hey, what would you say to fans wondering if the Wolves can make a run? And he said, quote, I wouldn't say nothing. Just watch. Just that quiet confidence. So Naz Reid, 15%.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Okay, we got 3 more slices here. Let's go 20% Anthony Edwards for a very professional performance. I would say a very mature professional performance in this game.
Absolutely.
9 assists to 1 turnover. He knocked down some huge threes. He didn't force the offense early. The Lakers also didn't blitz him as much early. I'd have to go look at the stats on that compared to maybe but he was the most blitzed player off pick and roll in the NBA this year, which is, not that we're big X's and O's guys on this show, but essentially you run a pick and roll, and when you come around that screen, instead of one of the defenders going with the picker, both of them come out to Anthony Edwards to force him to do something, either take a bad shot or mostly they don't believe that he's the playmaker that some of these other players are, and you can get him to be flustered. So I think they kind of prepared all week like the Lakers are going to blitz him. They're going to blitz him. And early on, it felt like the Lakers weren't. And he had to kind of figure out, how do I operate in this way too? But yeah, just the patience, the playmaking, knocking down the huge threes. And there's still a ton of room for him to improve too, because he was really bad at the rim in that game. He wound up 8 for 22? I think he was 4 for 9 from 3, so he was 4 for 13 or whatever it is from.
He missed a bunch at the rim.
Inside the arc and at the rim.
Yep.
So not even they blew the Lakers out, and it was a good performance by Anthony Edwards, and it was closer to a triple double than maybe he usually gets to. But that's the type of performance you're probably going to need from him more than the 43-point outburst, which you might get one of those in this series at some point too.
What I absolutely loved was the post-game story that came out too, that Ant sort of spent the first half surveying how he was being played against, and went into the locker room at halftime and basically said, okay, here's what we're doing. And it sounds like not just gave a speech, but gave a speech about what the plan should be, which I love. And I think he has justifiably, from this show at least, taken criticism for not having a season in which he's been completely mature, and it's been disappointing. I know he's young, but as I continue to say, it's basketball years too. So like, yes, he's a young human, but he's been playing this game and now been in playoffs for quite some time. So it's imperative, in my opinion, that the maturity start to show. On Saturday night, the basketball maturity showed big time. And so for as much as I have called him out, criticized him for not showing that, I think then it's only fair now to turn around and say, that's a captain right there. Like, that's exactly what you want. You want your best player to dictate the terms, and it's very clear his teammates respect him. I loved what he brought off the floor that could be then translated onto the floor, especially second half.
I think there's been previous iterations of Ant and other superstars in NBA history that they're sitting there in their early to mid-20s. They are athletically superior to anyone on the court, and they think, I'm going to Hulk up and win this series. And I just don't think, I mean, could he go score 45 points? Probably. But I think the Lakers would welcome that because it means that he's going to the rim and he's trying to get his little step back threes in at the expense of maybe wide open threes that come off of him passing the ball. So the Wolves got a bunch of wide open looks, in part because Anthony Edwards was patient and passed the ball on a regular basis in that game.
There was also times where, when the 27-point lead becomes 12 and, and then we start to get puckered, right? We're like, oh God, here we go again. And then he would hit a dagger three, like just to put that buffer from 12 to 15, not let it get down to the single digit, not let that sweat actually fall down past your brow, as a lot of Minnesota fans are probably watching that game. So just even those moments, it might not have been an Ant superstar performance, but it was a professional performance that they really needed.
Yeah, but that's like the fact that it wasn't a complete 100th percentile Ant performance. Because again, Lakers fans are sitting there the last 48 hours and saying, 51%, they're not going to hit 23s in all these games. And that's true. But at some point, you're going to get a much better performance from Julius Randle than you got, a much better performance from Anthony Edwards than you got. You're going to get probably more fouls called against. I know it sounds crazy, but the Lakers will be called for some fouls in this series. It's not going to totally even out, but it was absurd in game one. The fact that they literally didn't have a foul called on them until almost halftime and still got down by 27 points.
Yeah, that speaks to something.
Is a great sign for the Timberwolves. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, the second to last slice of pie, 20%.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
To Jaden McDaniels. The best playoff game he's ever played. 25 points, tied for a career high. 9 rebounds, career high. Efficiency, he was 11 of 13 from the field. The 2 misses, he grabbed offensive rebounds and put them back in. 6 made baskets in or near the paint instead of just... And he also hit 3 3-pointers, but the aggressiveness, attacking, getting to that mid-range, that little floater, getting to the rim.
Didn't smile once.
I
love that. I love that about him.
All of it while guarding Luka Doncic for most of the time. And here's a couple crazy things for you. We talk about who's going to guard Luka and how are the Wolves going to stop Luka? And the answer in game one was Jaden's going to guard Luka just like he did for a large chunk of the Mavericks series. He's probably still going to go off and get his 35 or 37. Maybe Jaden can make him work a little harder for it. But my question would be on the flip side. Who's guarding Jaden McDaniels in this series? He made a note to the media after game one and said, yeah, when they took Jackson Hayes off the court, I'm the tallest guy out there besides Rudy.
He basically said, I looked around and realized this.
Right. So
quote.
I'm going to get into the paint and I'm just going to rise up unimpeded and get my offense, which he did. And this is going to blow your mind, or maybe not. On possessions so he was mostly guarded by Luka and Austin Reeves in that game, Jaden McDaniels. On possessions where he was guarded by Luka and or Austin Reeves, Jaden McDaniels scored 20 points on 9 of 11 from the field.
Yeah.
I think it's repeatable because you saw a ton of these performances for 2.5 months when the Wolves had some injuries and they were leaning into, okay, we need someone else to score. And Jaden's like, I got a bag. I got a 3-level offensive bag here if you just empower me and run some stuff for me. Mm-hmm. Do you think Luka and Austin Reeves are going to turn around and just clamp Jaden? So I really think, if you're saying that performance was a fluke relative to his averages, okay, like statistically maybe a fluke, but the performance and the skill set is not a fluke. The Wolves just don't unlock it on a regular basis. But this series might wind up being a big-time Jaden McDaniels series.
Well, and if you look at what he brings too, if he does offensively regress, the way that he played confidently defensively is so important. And then to your point from before, Phil, you got to figure that Ant and Julius do more offensively. So like if he scores 15 points next game, okay, but he plays the style, the defense, the aggressiveness, and frustrates Doncic, and now Ant, more consistently is able to finish at the rim. Julius hits more shots. You're still fine. That's the thing is the Wolves, what's so intriguing about that game is I think the Wolves as a team played really, really, really well, but they individually all didn't have great games. Like that's the thing. Like if Ant had scored 40 and like all of these things had gone right, you'd probably say, okay, game 2, I don't see that. But there's a lot of things that are either repeatable and or you just didn't get great performances elsewhere. So like to me, it starts with Jaden's aggressiveness on defense, his style of play, and when that dude's confidence goes up, he's a killer.
Yeah,
he's an assassin. He's a basketball assassin.
He really is, man. I keep calling him kind of tongue-in-cheek Diet Kawhi Leonard, but they're both.
That's the same type of demeanor, though.
It's that mid-range game. They're these elite wing defenders that you just put on the other team's best player. Yeah. They're both expressionless and emotionless players. Yeah. But when they get their offensive game going, it's just a machine. So 20% to Jaden McDaniels, and then that leaves the final slice of pie.
Rock knows how you feel about pie.
25% for Chris Finch.
I knew where this was going.
Don't give Chris Finch extra time to prepare. He's like Andy Reid in the NFL coming off a bye week.
Yeah. Well, but what was again the narrative going in? JJ Redick's a basketball mastermind. He's gonna have this. He's gonna have that. And I'm not saying he's not very, very smart.
He might. They might. There's gonna be adjustments,
and there will be adjustments. But Chris Finch coached his ass off on Saturday night.
Yeah. Now the best possible thing happened here, which is the Wolves were so dominant that there was no clutch time needed. So hey, listen, if you can scheme it up and you can dominate the Lakers to the point where you don't have to have it's a 3-point game with 3. That's where it's going to get really interesting. Is there will probably be games in the series where there's 2.5 minutes left and it's tied, and they have Luka and LeBron, who understand exactly what they're doing to dissect the defense, and the Wolves are still a half beat slow or more in those situations. But when you're up by 27 points, you're not have to worry about that. But in terms of the extra time to prepare, it's becoming a real thing here. Last year, game 1 against the Suns, you had the whole week to watch film, meet with your coaches, run your players through practice, dissect why you got smoked 3 times in the regular season, and then come back with a game plan. And they came right out of the gate in game 1 against the Suns, 120-95. Just beat the brakes off Phoenix in game 1. So they sweep that series. Then they get another week because they swept. So they have a week until that Nuggets game 1.
Yep.
They go into Denver, and they fell behind a little bit early, but they come back and they dominate Denver in the second half, a 106-99 win on the road, altitude. So, and then this with the week to prepare for the Lakers. So Finch is showing you give that coaching staff a week, and these guys lock it in during practice. A couple other things here. Luka Doncic, 51 career playoff games. Game 1 against the Wolves on Saturday night was his lowest assist total in any of those 51 playoff games. He had 1 assist.
I think that is the most, in my opinion, of all the stats, that is the most important stat of the entire game.
And some of that was, it might have been a couple missed shots by teammates, but
still,
in his playoff career, when Luka dishes fewer than 5 assists in a playoff game, his teams are 1-7 in those games. And Luka himself is a -67 in those games. So, hey, go get your 30, 35, go get your 37. If you can neutralize playmaker Luka, which is like these tentacles that extend into other players getting going, and then the confidence and everything you saw in that Maverick series last year. I think that's something that Finch and company probably took note of and executed to perfection in game one.
I think you could be relatively safe if you can repeat this. I think you could be safe allowing Doncic to score between 30 and 40 as long as you contain him as far as what else he can do. They're not the same player, but I think it's very, very similar to Joker. Like if Joker scores,
He scored 60 for
he scored 60.
He also had a triple-double and
he
made
did
all
have
the
a triple-double,
plays, but they still won.
But in the playoffs last year, what was their whole thing? He can have his points. Like he's going to get you somehow. You're not going to shut him down. But the reality is this: if you take away his teammates and make him a one-man show, basically, that's got to be the goal.
So I have a question for you guys off of kind of what you just said, which is, all right, what's the JJ Redick counterpunch here? I have a question after we shout out Craft Beer Fest, which has happened. This is a big weekend in Minnesota sports and in Minnesota beer drinking, quite frankly.
Is it ever? I mean, 80 craft beers coming to town, which is going to be absolutely awesome for Craft Beer Festival. MinnesotaCraftBeerFestival.com to get your tickets. It's April 26th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Again, 80 breweries and craft beverage companies serving unlimited pours from across the state and across the country, plus some live music.
Oh, wow, dude! I am in for the live mucus. 100%.
Oh man. Blow your nose and then make sure you're sipping the beer appropriately. Live music and games. Grab your tickets at MinnesotaCraftBeerFestival.com before they're gone.
Dude, give me some of that live. North American Banking Company is also here powering this pie chart episode of Flagrant Howls. Minnesota-based with 6 locations in the Twin Cities: Maple Grove, Roseville, Shoreview, Hastings, Woodbury, and 50th in France. And with spring here, maybe you've got a big project coming up, or maybe you're even looking to buy a home. Well, North American Banking Company can help you with big projects, lines of credit, and or even the mortgage process for buying a new home. So whether it's the basics like checking and savings or something bigger, you can check out North American Banking Company here, one of the 6 locations in the Twin Cities. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Here's my question for you guys. How concerned are you? LeBron James has a history of kind of absorbing whatever needs to be absorbed in game one and then adjusting brilliantly and going on from there in a series. How worried are you about the LeBron James counterpunch?
I mean, there's going to be one, right? Like it's probably more likely it is game 2. But like, there's gonna be a LeBron James, and let's be honest, like I'm not trying to pull the Judd and take your question and rephrase the question, but when it's the LeBron James punch with a Luka Doncic super punch coming over it, there's gonna be a significant adjustment. So to be honest, I envision the Lakers are probably gonna take game 2. That's where I'm at here in this series. But man, if this does go up to 2-0, I mean, it's pretty much I wouldn't say a cakewalk for the Wolves, but I envision that the Lakers take this game back for game 2. That's where I'm at.
I am prepared for it. And look, I mean, yeah, I certainly don't think that this is going to be a repeat of the Sun series and be a sweep. But that being said, I think if I can keep this down to my team, which goes 8-9 deep if Jalen Clark plays. And by the way, Jalen Clark should play probably. And I can make this a 8-2, which is what this is right now. I'm prepared for, as Deck said, for the Lakers to win a couple of games. I'm prepared for those 2 guys to be brilliant. But I'm so deep and they're so not deep. This is where I don't understand where the counter punch from Redick ultimately comes from. Like, there's going to be adjustments. I get that. I get the fact that there's a lot of pride here. But the reality is this: you can adjust, but I've got so much depth to adjust back. And we talk about that, right, Phil? The Wolves counterpunch, the Wolves depth. If Mike Conley looks old and tired, I don't have to keep him out there. I've got a guy who's younger and probably for sure, better in DiVincenzo at this point. So I'm fully prepared for LeBron to go off. I'm fully prepared for Luka to go off. Do I think two can beat my entire team? I'm putting a lot of odds on me.
I've been thinking about this LeBron thing a lot the last 48 hours because it felt like and even JJ Redick in-game interview and post-game absolutely destroyed his team for not rising up with playoff energy. That, hey, like the playoffs started. Yeah. And LeBron's performance kind of felt that way to some extent, where it's like he's out there, and there's some speculation that maybe he's not fully healthy. We don't know what percentage he's playing at, but he's 40, maybe not fully healthy. It was just a nondescript LeBron game. He just kind of existed out there. They were a minus 22 in his 36 minutes he played. So it's unprecedented for like most 40-year-old players are just cooked or not in the NBA anymore. So we're trying to figure out like, what is he at age 40? Is there is there some precedent for him coming back now? But if you go back, this is kind of crazy. How many times would you guess he has scored more than 30 points in a playoff game dating back to 2020?
Oh, I know, 20.
Last 5 years. Lakers have been in the playoffs all 5 years. They won the bubble championship in 2020.
Right.
If you go back to that season, since the bubble championship, how many times has he scored more than 30 points in a playoff game?
I'm gonna guess it's not that much. I'm gonna guess it's like zeros since you asked the question.
It's once.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's had a couple 30. He had a couple 30s in the last two games of that Denver series last year.
Right.
But it is, and some of it's he's maybe trying to be more of a playmaker, get other guys unlocked. But I don't know. I mean, he's got this crazy legacy. He actually has 200 more playoff games played than the Wolves franchise, which is a great graphic they put
I
up.
saw that graphic.
That was great.
But and I'm not saying he can't give them a 27, 10, and 8 awesome performance and they win game 2. But this idea that there's like a 41, one of these games from 10 years ago that you remember when the Cavs were down 3-1 against the Warriors. And by the way, when he came back from that injury, the middle of March, he played like the last, 12 games or whatever of the regular season. Not the same dude. 21 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, which for almost any other player, that's awesome.
Yep.
But only 33% from 3-point range. So whether it's age, injury, all of the above, I don't want to poke the bear too much here, but I don't know that there is like a Herculean LeBron performance coming to save the day here. And if there is, maybe there's one, but there's not 4.
And from a national perspective, especially TV, Luka and LeBron being on the marquee is awesome. Like, oh, these two great players team up. It's like a Superman special. But the reality is this. They are still trying to, especially in the playoffs where games change a lot, they are still trying to figure who's sort of the alpha out. Now LeBron says Doncic is, like, we're setting him up to shoot. But I'm telling you right now, that confusion is almost, or it's not almost, it is advantage Wolves, because they're still, this Lakers team, it's not like it's a finished product of like, okay, these guys have been together now for months and they know, like, if the Luka trade had been made when the Towns trade was made, I would say that it's probably figured out by now.
Because they would have then added a big at the deadline too to make the team more complete.
But I mean, this all goes back to the fact that we somehow have forgotten this trade was not made with the intention of trying to win a champion, or the intention that they were going to win a championship this season. And so I think the general confusion is, like, are Doncic and LeBron going to both have huge games together? Like, is Doncic going to have the huge game and LeBron's the facilitator? So I just think there's been a lot of, the reality of the storylines has been slept on because the names are so big.
Yeah. So that whole dynamic that they're trying to think about how the Wolves looked the first 2.5 months. They were like 8-10 at one point because they're trying to figure out how this works. Now, LeBron's seen enough. I think that process gets expedited with the Lakers because, like, LeBron has seen so much basketball. He kind of know he's a savant in that way. Anthony Edwards is pretty new to the league still, and he's still trying to figure it out. So I give Luka and LeBron a better, faster chance to have it click. But it was never. That's the thing. the pumping of the tires of the Lakers, there's not nearly enough substance to what they've done the last 2 or 3 months to warrant the level of tire pumping.
Correct.
So we'll see. Hey, game 2 tomorrow night, and we're going to be live again after the game. I know you're going to be Judd's hockey show too. We have 2 live streams on the Score North YouTube channel tomorrow night.
It's on.
So it should be a wild night, no pun intended. And also, if you're a Vikings fan, there are limited tickets to the Purple Daily Draft Party available for this Thursday. You can go to scorenorth.com/draft, and you can hang out with us as we this week is just crazy in Minnesota sports, and we're all over the place at Score North. That's a wrap on this Pie Chart of Praise episode of Flagrant Howls, your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. See you guys.